Okay, sorry for the false start there. Yolett McPhee-McCuin is beginning her 7th year as the head coach at Ole Miss this past summer. She kind of retook the reins of the Bahamian women's national team, having previously served in that coaching role from 2014 to 17. Coach Yo's a Freeport, Bahamas native, looking to lead her home country forward into a spot in the 2028 Olympics when she's not busy on the court. One of the impactful things she does is with the hashtag No Ceilings with Coach Yo Foundation, which is a nonprofit which works to provide support for women and children throughout the United States in the educational area and in the Bahamas. Welcome to the stage, Coach Yo.
Good evening. I know that you all have been going all day, so I'll try to keep this short and sweet to keep you engaged. If you're anything like my student athletes, you got about 10 minutes in you, so I'll just get right to it. In 2024, in the climate that we're in, I'm just really blessed that this is my 7th season at the University of Mississippi. I'm excited about what's to come in our league. I think our league, this is not coach speak. I think our league is the best league in the nation, and I'm grateful for us to be a part of it. We have a lot to be excited about in Oxford. We have 7 returners, 7 new players, and just a lot of energy and excitement, a great healthy balance of old and young, and I think that you need that and to be competitive in the Southeastern Conference. We have an incredibly competitive schedule. We open up this season in Paris versus the University of Southern California. We were luckily picked to play a Final Four participant in the SEC, ACC Challenge, and NC State. And we go to the Bahamas. I don't know who picked that, but this is our 3rd year in a row going back home. And we play Boston College. And if we're successful against them, we get a chance to play the Connecticut Huskies. So needless to say, we have beefed up our non-conference schedule simply because our conference schedule has beefed up. And I know that sounds crazy, but for me, I'd rather our players have a chance to dive into the competitive space before we get into what I call the baby WNBA, which is the SEC. So, a lot of growth. We're excited to have some of our players return. Madison Scott, she is Ole Miss women's basketball. This being her 5th year, made SEC 2nd team preseason rankings. KK Deans, who we lost after winning the championship last year in the Bahamas, is back and healthy. And then we went into the portal and filled some spots that we thought we needed and brought in what I think is an incredibly unique freshman class, all international, hailing from Mali, Africa, Brazil, Portugal, and Slovenia. And so we're excited about our group. I love our team. I'm ready. I'm not ready to get started. I'd be lying if I said that I am. Anybody who's ready to get started right now is, I don't know. I don't think anybody's ready to get started, but it's near, it's coming. The temperature has changed and we're here. So, like I said, I'm very grateful to play in the Southeastern Conference. I'm excited I have an immense amount of joy about being the head coach at the University of Mississippi, and we look forward to having a hopeful and healthy season.
All right, let's go to questions. Raise your hand if you have a question for the coach. Remember to identify yourself and the media outlet you represent when you ask your question, and let's start on the front row in the middle. First question.
Cora Hall, Knoxville News Sentinel. You just mentioned opening the season in Paris. Just after seeing what a kind of amazing thing that was last year, what does it mean to have your program participate in that this year?
Cora, how you doing? When we got the call, we were ecstatic, and immediately I said yes, but I didn't ask for permission, so I had to dial it back. But our administration, from the chancellor down, was in full support, and that is something that I appreciate at Ole Miss. Like, they understand the balance of, wanting to win championships, obviously, but the student-athlete experience. And so we're going to play a basketball game, but we're going to go up early enough to have a chance to explore Paris and see what it's about and use it as an educational tool for our student-athletes.
Raise your hand if you have a question. All right, let's go second row right in the middle, and then the next we'll go fourth row in the middle.
Hi, Coach. Kevin Skarbinski with the SEC blog. What do you like about having a roster that has a balance of domestic players and international players?
I think what I like about it is you have experience from different backgrounds, right? So all of my freshmen that are international players have played for their national teams. So they are experienced when it comes to playing high-level basketball in Europe and in Africa. So that's something that was exciting for me. Nowadays you can't be that young, all right? You won't be around to see them grow. So there needs to be a balance of having the experience, and we were able to retain our starters with KK, Madison Scott, Kennedy Todd Williams, and then others. I think we retained like 8, and that was important for us, especially in the environment that we're in. When people are leaving and they have the right to do so, we focus on retaining those pieces. And so I think we have a healthy balance. I'm excited about it. It's a lot of newness still, but that is what it is for us nowadays. We're glorified JUCO coaches, if you ask me. We got 2 years to make something shake, and then we got another crop coming in, and that is our environment now, and one that I've adjusted to and I embrace.
Okay, fourth row in the middle, and then we're going to come to the second row here on the left side.
Donna Sprayberry, the Rebel Walk. Coach O, the NCAA has eliminated the National Letter of Intent. Do you have any concerns about how that may affect programs in the future? Honestly,
I hadn't educated myself enough on it to say how I truly feel. Full transparency, I'm numb because there's always a change. Every day is a change. So I kind of go with the ebbs and flows of the changes, and I leave that up to the powers that be. For us, we would like to be able to maintain our roster and know who's on our roster. I love the freedom that our student athletes get. I hadn't dove deep enough in it to know how it will impact us. But at the end of the day, the NCAA is going to put the student athlete first, and we have to adapt and we have to adjust. So kind of have to wait and see. Ask me after signing day how I feel about it.
All right, next question, second row on the left.
Hey, Coach Yo, Jared Reddick, Inside the Rebels on 24/7 Sports. A two-part question. First, when KK Deans went down with that ACL injury, I guess what impressed you the most about the way that she handled her recovery process, especially going through it a second time? And then secondly, when you go through the portal process with Tamia Sadler, I guess what ultimately attracted you to her, and how'd you kind of see that vice versa?
Well, we were devastated when KK went down. She's the heartbeat of our team and an extension of me, and had really been working hard and had big goals. But I've always been impressed with KK's tenacity and toughness. But after seeing her go through the process of returning after this ACL injury, I'm even more inspired by just, her character and her will to want to be back and be there for the team. And we had a lot of success last year, but Jared, she had a lot to do with that. She became a coach on the bench. She was a great air for our players, and we're excited to have her back. When it comes to Tam, I think I got a little PTSD with KK going down, so I wanted to get some another experienced point guard, lead guard in. And so we went out and started scouring the portal, and we utilized the portal to get pieces that we think we need. We're not greedy. We don't just jump in there and just get whatever we can. So she was just someone we needed. We needed maturity. We needed someone that came from a winning program in Colorado, and I have tons of respect for Coach JR, and I called her and asked her about Tam, and she was supportive and had great things to say about her. And then our job was to convince her to come to the SIP, and we're glad that she's here.
Other questions? Please raise your hand. Other questions for Coach? All right, let's come back to the middle in the front row.
As a coach who sends players to WNBA from your program, I'm curious your thoughts on this season and kind of like the spike in popularity that's obviously been building, right? And more eyes, historic ratings and attendance, but also everything that came with it in terms of the heightened racism and online abuse a lot of players face. Just what are your thoughts on where the league is at this moment and kind of where it goes from here?
Well, that sounded great when you started and said for someone that sends players to the league. I was like, yeah, that's us, I think the league is at a growth stage, and anytime you have growth, it's going to be good and bad. And I'm not one to say you have to take the good with the bad. I just know that the good and the bad comes when you're trying to elevate anything, right? But I don't condone it, and I'm heartbroken when I hear the stories about players being, stalked and attacked, and, the verbal abuse, and sometimes where the media takes it, and social media. When I say the media, I'm not attacking you all, I'm just talking about the media as a whole. But I think we'll get to the other side of it because it's a beautiful sport. We have beautiful people in the sport that come from all different backgrounds and represent all facets of our world, right? And so I think that once we get over the shock of the negativity that comes with it and we start to balance it out, it will continue to blossom. I just saw Stewie and Fees, they're unrivaled. Like, that's crazy. TNT, just having that exposure, I think it just shows that women's basketball is an entity and a product that needs to be invested in. We have a new deal here in the SEC, and it's legitimate, and so we're going to continue to grow, and hopefully we can educate the new fans that come in to be comfortable with our game and what it represents, and allowing it to be different from maybe men's basketball, but still appreciating it for a high-level sport that it is.
Any other questions for Coach? All right, let's go back to the middle, fourth row.
Coach O'Don, the Rebel Walk. Both of your players today commented on how much you have taught them as far as being women outside of basketball, and they really commented strongly on how much of an impact you had made on their life. In turn, how have they been part of you, and we see it all the time, a part of your family, coming to your kids' games and stuff. How have your players impacted and changed your life?
Whew. I mean, I would go over my time limit of 10 minutes that we discussed and agreed upon, but my players teach me something new every single day. And when we recruit, I always tell our coaches, let's have people around us that we wouldn't mind our kids around. And that's one thing that I'm proud to say about the young women on my team. They're great people. And I don't mind them being around my kids, being examples for my two daughters. We're a family. They accept me for who I am, and I appreciate that because, I'm a ball of fire in practice, and they kind of just allow me to be that. They don't try to change me. They don't complain about it, They appreciate the difference of when I'm on the court versus when I'm off the court. And I love them, and I want to see them win. And so every day I think I go into work saying, if I be to them what they need me to be, in return, they will be inspired to be for me what we need them to be. And I think that we have that partnership and that understanding. And but it comes first with the character, and they're just awesome people.
Other questions for Coach? Raise your hand. All right, let's go to the second row on the left, and then we'll come to the second row on the middle.
You were talking about the SIP earlier when I asked you that previous question. When you first took this job in 2018, one of the first things you were asked was the pressure of, beating Mississippi State, especially, when they were middle of their Final Four runs. But, now that you've kind of had the upper hand on them as of late and finished the top 4 in the SEC each of the last 4 years, and just playing against them, I guess, what has that particular series meant to you? I mean, obviously every SEC game is important, but that particular one, particularly how much you rep Ole Miss on your chest every single day.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I learned quickly that we're going to hold it down for Oxford, Mississippi, the flagship. But here's the thing. I love rivalries. So for me, I got right into it right away. But I also love the game, and I love the sport, and I have a great amount of respect for all of the coaches. So I have tons of respect for Sam, But every time we play, I want to beat his butt, and I think he wants to beat me too, and we can both appreciate that. But I think rivalries just show, the passion that universities, towns, people have, and I'm proud to be on this side with the Rebels.
Okay, we've got time for one more question right there in the middle.
You've obviously elevated the program. Now you're getting to the NCAA tournament. You're winning NCAA tournament games. What does it take to get from that level to where LSU was 2 years ago, or South Carolina last year and has been there before?
Well, I think it takes a little bit of luck. You got to get a good draw, and that's why we're playing such a competitive non-conference. Because when I talked to Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey, Dawn, she plays an incredibly tough schedule all the time. It's kind of contrasting. Kim has her style and Dawn has her style. But for us, I think we want to try to get a home court advantage. So in order for us to get one of the top 4 seeds and host at home, we can't duck any smoke. We have to play the best, and we have to show that we are a program that's worth being considered to be in that top 4. And so how do you do it? You got to go play those teams. And so that is something that we have decided as a program. We were prepared and in a situation to do so with this year's roster. As far as continuing to build a program, we just have to win. We have to sell our university, sell the vision for every student athlete that we go after, every prospect. And then we have to get the right people on board. We have to continue to have depth in our roster. I think we tried to do that with the type of players that we've brought in. And then we have to have some luck. We have to be able to be resilient throughout the whole season and capitalize on games. All games matter in the Southeastern Conference, but in the non-con, we have a lot of opportunities to make a statement. We have to try to capitalize on them.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.